Mother Teresa has always been portrayed as an icon of humility and selfless dedication to humanity. Little did the public know that the woman had been suffering in silence for decades while still smiling. Just before her death, she spoke out, only to reveal terrifying secrets. What you are about to watch will send cold shivers down your spine. Sit close as we delve into Mother Teresa's heartbreaking ordeals and terrifying secrets that have shaken the world to its foundation. Chapter 1: Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, also known as Saint Teresa of Calcutta, was a Catholic nun and missionary who dedicated her life to serving India's poorest of the poor. She founded the Missionaries of Charity in 1950, a religious congregation dedicated to caring for the sick, the hungry, the homeless, and the dying. She and her sisters opened orphanages, hospices, and clinics, providing compassionate care and support to those in need throughout India, Africa, America, and other parts of the world. Her life was marked by charity, love, care, compassion, self-denial, altruism, and fervent devotion to God. She denied herself marriage and all forms of recognition, including the monetary rewards accompanying the Nobel Peace Prize she won in 1979. She directed that the money be donated to care for people in the Missionaries of Charity's orphanages and elderly homes. But was Mother Teresa's life always perfect, both spiritually and physically? Certainly, a woman of global impact and influence was perceived as perfect without any affliction. The devil has always tried to undermine people of good virtue, like Mother Teresa, by afflicting her faith, which has caused people to doubt her faith and works and question if she was flawless, as most of her writings were revealed after her death. Well, it turns out there is more to what we all knew and heard about her. What are the terrifying revelations we just found out about her? Keep watching. Mother Teresa is one of the devoted saints of the past who experienced the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is a spiritual hypothesis that refers to a period of severe inner struggle, doubt, and feelings of spiritual emptiness or separation from God. It is often associated with the Spanish mystic and poet Saint John of the Cross, who wrote about his own experiences of spiritual desolation in his poem The Dark Night. Saint Francis of Assisi, the beloved saint known for his deep love of nature, simplicity, and devotion to God, is said to have experienced his own dark night of the soul. Although historical records do not provide a detailed account of this experience, it is believed that Saint Francis experienced periods of spiritual desolation and inner struggle in his quest for a closer relationship with God. During these dark nights, Saint Francis may have felt abandoned, doubtful, or spiritually dry. He endured these challenges with faith, perseverance, and prayer, ultimately emerging from them with a deeper understanding of God's love and a stronger commitment to his spiritual path. Well, will it be the same with Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa's dark night of the soul refers to a period of spiritual desolation she experienced, during which she felt an extreme sense of spiritual emptiness and doubt in her faith. This inner struggle lasted for decades, during which she continued her humanitarian work despite feeling disconnected from the presence of God. Her perseverance through this profound spiritual trial has made her an enduring symbol of faith and resilience. This period of Mother Teresa's life lasted for decades. It was characterized by internal struggles, hopelessness, and desolation as she grappled with doubts about God's existence, the meaning of her faith, and whether her actions were helping humanity. Her private letters and conversations with her confessors later revealed these inner turmoils and desperation. Mother Teresa died on the 5th of September, 1997. Since then, new information has begun to surface concerning the details of her interior life. This information surprised and even shocked many who had lived close to her for years and thought they knew her well. For it now emerges that, in marked contrast to the shining, external radiance of Mother's presence among us, her inner world, the unseen, hidden places of her mind and heart, were, for many years, and to our great bewilderment, caverns of a seeming emptiness, zones of almost total darkness. No wonder she could exclaim in a letter written once to a priest, "If I ever become a saint, I will surely be one of darkness." This darkness was not an experience of depression or despair. Rather, it was the shadow cast in her soul by the overwhelming light of God's presence. God was utterly present yet utterly hidden. His intimate, purifying love was experienced as a devastating absence and even, on occasion, as a complete abandonment. On the 17th of May, 1964, she described the state of her soul with these astonishing words: to be in love and yet not to love, to live by faith and yet not to believe. To spend myself and yet be in total darkness. And again, some years earlier, on the 28th of February, 1957, she wrote, "There is so much contradiction in my soul. Such deep longing for God, so deep that it is painful, continual suffering, and yet not wanted by God, repulsed, empty, no faith, no love, no zeal, and heaven means nothing. It looks like an empty place yet, this torturing longing for God." Apart from the revelations concerning the night that Mother Teresa endured for so long, one other remarkable secret that has come to light since she died in 1997 is a secret that she tried for years to keep hidden with characteristic modesty. As well as being a woman of enormous practical kindness, Mother Teresa also received a series of mystical visions and expressions. She experienced these graces immediately, or almost immediately, before beginning her work in the slums for the poorest of the poor. Jesus asked her directly and most vividly to change her life utterly and requested that she establish a new religious society or community of nuns. "I want Indian nuns, missionaries of charity, who would be my fire of love amongst the poor, the sick, the dying and the little children." In 1946, Mother Teresa wrote, "In all my prayers and holy communions he is continually asking, 'Wilt thou refuse?'" Frightened at the thought of what was being asked of her, and conscious of her littleness and weakness, Mother Teresa replied, "My own Jesus, what you ask is beyond me. I can hardly understand half of the things you want. I am unworthy, I am sinful, I am weak." But, by way of response to these words, at some point later in the interchange between them, she hears Jesus saying to her, "You are, I know, the most incapable person, weak and sinful, but just because you are that, I want to use you for my glory. Wilt thou refuse?" And again, "Fear not. It is I who am asking you to do this for me. Fear not, even if the whole world is against you, laughs at you, your companions and superiors look down on you, fear not, it is I in you, with you, for you." Mother Teresa felt a profound sense of emptiness and loneliness during her darkest moments, even as she cared for the poor and sick in Calcutta. She described feeling like she was living in a state of darkness and that God was distant or absent from her life. Despite these struggles, Mother Teresa continued with her persistence, work, and relentless trust in God's plan. The reality of being chosen for this particular work, in this particular way, was a matter of continual astonishment to Mother Teresa. She remarked on 3 or 4 occasions, "In this age, more than in any other, God wants to use nothing." Nothing, I discovered, was a word she often liked to use. On another occasion, she declared, "Father Paul, when you discover your nothing, rejoice." Here, as much as the accent of joy, the note of liberation is speaking. What Mother Teresa means by being nothing is in no way connected to the cold imprisonment of self-mistrust or what is now low self-esteem. Mother Teresa says, "People are drawn to God when they see my strong faith." Is this not deceiving people? More than once, in her private writings, Mother Teresa put this question to herself, and with manifest bewilderment. The root cause of her bewilderment was the marked contrast between, on the one hand, the fountain or river of blessing which seemed to pour out, through her, to others from God and, on the other hand, the utter coldness, darkness, and aridity of her interior spirit. On one occasion, Mother Teresa confessed, "When I open my mouth to speak to the sisters and people about God and God's work, it brings them light, joy, and courage. But I get nothing out of it. Inside, it is all dark, and feeling that I am cut off from God." It would appear then that, about the question of her darkness, Mother Teresa herself remained confused for many years. On the 8th of November, 1961, she wrote, "I don't know what is happening to me." And again, earlier in the same year, "My very life seems so contradictory." No wonder she could, on one occasion, find herself praying, "Jesus, don't let my soul be deceived, nor let me deceive anyone." Indeed, Mother Teresa often approached God in deep poverty of spirit. But, simultaneously, with an equal profundity of spirit, she trusted absolutely in His love for her. Yes, there were trials she had to undergo, and there was darkness to be endured. But, for all that, she was His little one, His spouse, and His beloved. At the close of a strikingly beautiful meditation, composed when she was seriously ill in hospital in June 1983, she wrote, "Jesus, I love with my whole heart, with my whole being. I have given him all, even my sins, and he has espoused me to himself in tenderness and love." Mother Teresa's experience of the dark night of the soul has been seen as a testament to the depth of her faith and her willingness to endure suffering for the sake of others. It also serves as a reminder that even the most devoted and saintly individuals can face periods of doubt and spiritual crisis. Mother Teresa's journey through the dark night of the soul exemplifies perseverance, faith, and trust in God's mysterious ways, even amid profound suffering and uncertainty. Her ability to continue serving others with love and compassion despite her inner struggles is a powerful testament to the strength of her character and her commitment to her calling. But why would a woman who so passionately loved her God go through all that? Still, people picked some flaws in her life. Why was she emotionally and psychologically tortured with endless controversial claims? Chapter 2: Controversies about Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was one of the most influential women of the 20th century. She was a short-bent woman but had a commanding presence. She was a global icon whose humanitarian work touched the inner parts of the earth, from Asia to America and Africa. However, was she really that perfect? Did she really mean good for the people under her watch? You will soon find out. Dr. Jack Prejer was a British doctor who treated the poor for free from 19772. One day, she encountered Mother Teresa's works in a BBC documentary. Moved by her generosity and sacrifice, she started working with her but soon discovered that most of her reputation was false. According to Dr. Prejer, great things should have been done in terms of modern medical care. Dr. Prejer testified that there was no proper medical care in Mother Teresa's ashram. All the patients had shaved heads, no chairs anywhere, and just stretcher beds, similar to the First World War stretcher beds. There was no garden, no yard, even nothing. 40 to 60 men and women were compacted in one room and the same case in another room, with injection needles that were no longer sharp and repeatedly used in many people. Painkillers were not available for people with severe pains, like the case of a young lady who went there with terrible burns, but there were no painkillers at least to subside her predicament. However, Dr. Prejer managed to get morphine and smuggled the morphine into this woman and helped her wither her pain, and the defense always was, "We are not a medical order." Despite receiving millions and billions of dollars as donations, Mother Teresa wasn't providing medical care to the houses she administered. One 15-year-old kid had a very relatively simple kidney complaint that got worse when he didn't receive antibiotics. Consequently, he needed an operation, and she said, "Well, they will not take him to the hospital." I said, "Why?" "All you have to do is get a cab, take him to the nearest hospital, demand that he has treatment, and get him an operation." She says they don't do it. They won't do it. If they do it for one, they must do it for everybody. And I thought, but this kid is 15 years old. Mother Teresa let that 15-year-old kid, who could have possibly survived a simple medical operation, writhe in pain. Mother Teresa had enough money to run a modern hospital for these patients and the poor, but Mother Teresa didn't do that. When people questioned her unconventional ways, she said, "We are not social workers, the work is only a means to put our love for Christ into action." Despite also receiving medical supplies as donations, she never used them. The spiritual mission of Mother Teresa was characterized by pain and suffering. Could this be the effect of the spiritual silence she suffered? Mary Johnson, who formerly worked as a missionary for 20 years, left Mother Teresa's cult and wrote her reasons for leaving this cult in her book. The lives of these nuns in missionaries of charity were filled with manipulation, exploitation, and abuse. Mary Johnson describes a strict regimen of work and prayer, enforced silence, and severe punishments for breaking the rules. Many of the nuns who joined Mother Teresa's order were young and inexperienced, often from poor backgrounds, and vulnerable to manipulation. Mary Johnson's account raises serious questions about the true nature of Mother Teresa's organization and the extent of her involvement in its day-to-day operations. In conclusion, while Mother Teresa's legacy as a symbol of compassion and selflessness endures, these revelations about her private struggles and the controversies surrounding her work serve as a reminder that even the most revered figures are complex and flawed human beings. It is important to critically examine the actions and motivations of historical figures, even those who are widely celebrated, in order to gain a more nuanced understanding of their impact on the world. The controversies surrounding Mother Teresa were quite hard. The nuns were told to live in poverty, and they were sent to beg. At the same time, Mother Teresa had all the money in the world. Nuns were only given 2 sets of saris, a traditional garment in India, and they were not allowed to take baths daily. Moreover, they were prohibited from going out alone, watching television, reading newspapers, or speaking with people outside the ashram. They were not even allowed to meet their own families. All communications with the outside world except the once-a-month home letter were prohibited, including talking with co-workers about anything other than work. It is important to note that these aren't confirmed truths, but controversies from those who worked with graced Mother Teresa. How did Mother Teresa navigate this well of endless controversies? Could any of these claims be true? Keep watching to find out. Chapter 3, Yes to God. As the years of darkness came and went, Mother Teresa slowly began to see them as something different from the dark night of the soul described by John of the Cross and experienced by Teresa de Lisieux. She concluded that it was an essential part of her vocation as a missionary of charity. Even as a teenager in Skopje, Teresa longed to serve the poor. When she became a missionary nun, she spent her Sundays roaming the slums around the Loreto compound, bringing relief to the poor. When she received the call within a call, she dedicated the rest of her life to giving the poor, the sick, the lonely, and the dying the love the world had denied them. Moreover, she voluntarily took on their poverty as her own. Teresa dedicated her life to this work because she believed that Christ demanded it of her. As she often said, when she succored the poor and the sick, she ministered to Christ in his distressing disguise, the Christ who thirsted. So, it was inevitable, given that she shared in the suffering of the people she served, that she eventually discerned her inner poverty as a share in the suffering of Christ himself. She remembered the oath she'd made back in 1942. Never to deny God anything asked of her, and she realized that loyalty to the oath meant embracing God's withdrawal. We must know exactly what is in our yes to God. Yes means I surrender, totally, fully, without any counting the cost. It meant accepting whatever God gave and giving whatever God chose to take away. And for Teresa, it meant accepting the burden of Christ's passion. When she was allowed that insight into the nature of her darkness, she recognized it as an inevitable aspect of the call within a call. She would go so far as to say that she loved the darkness because it was a very, very small part of Jesus' darkness and pain on earth. Mother Teresa wholly focused on her mission of serving the poorest of the poor. Endowed with a kind heart and human empathy, she was, however, never a standoffish person. She possessed, in fact, a very lively sense of humor, and few things pleased her so much as the exuberant joy she witnessed, again and again, in the young women who came to join her congregation to work for the poorest of the poor. About one group of Missionary of Charity's aspiring members, for example, that she visited just before setting out on a train journey in 1966, she wrote, "The Epiphany aspirants, 34 in number, young, healthy, full of zeal, make the house vibrate with laughter. I have had little chance to enjoy their company, but I can hear them even in the train, as my heart and mind are very close to them." In her life, Mother Teresa was always the first to catch a joke in a homily or to see the humor in any given situation. Writing to a friend, on one occasion, from whom it would appear, she hoped to receive a letter, and soon, she made the following complaint: "When I write regularly, the sisters say I am in the first class, if less, second and third class. When I neglect them, they say I am in 0 class. I think I will also put you in 0 class if you don't write." Again, something of Mother Teresa's sharp wit and great good humor is apparent in a comment that she made during a talk delivered in 1981. "Once I was asked, 'What will you do when you are not Mother General anymore?' I said, 'I am first class in cleaning toilets and drains.'" Mother Teresa narrated a story in Rome at the convent at Dono di Maria. That story, she narrated, was not really a story in any ordinary sense of the word. It is, in fact, the account of a dream she had had many years before. As she expressed the details of the dream, Mother Teresa didn't laugh outright at any stage, but there was laughter in her eyes from start to finish. Here is the dream, as she told it: "One night during the first months of my work in the slums of Calcutta, I had a dream. It was like a vision. All of a sudden, I found myself at the gates of paradise. And I was delighted, filled with joy. But just as I was about to walk through the gates, St. Peter came out and blocked my way. "You can't come in here," he said, "there are no slums up here." I was furious with Peter. And I immediately told him, "All right, I will go back. But I'm going to return here, Peter. And I will fill this heaven of yours with all my people from the slums." So funny. This took place on the 26th of October, 1994. But how did Mother Teresa become a saint? Was she worth the title? Was she even canonized? Chapter 4: Legacy of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa's legacy is profound and enduring. She inspired countless individuals worldwide to follow in her footsteps and make a difference in the lives of those in need. One of her most significant contributions was her commitment to serving those marginalized and forgotten by society. She and her sisters ministered to people living in extreme poverty, providing food, shelter, medical care, and love to those abandoned or rejected. Mother Teresa believed that every person deserved dignity and respect regardless of their circumstances, and she worked tirelessly to alleviate their suffering. Mother Teresa's work extended beyond physical care to encompass spiritual nourishment. She believed that the greatest poverty in the world was not material deprivation but spiritual emptiness and loneliness. Through her example of selfless service and compassion, Mother Teresa inspired others to cultivate a deeper sense of empathy and kindness towards their fellow human beings. She emphasized the importance of love, forgiveness, and humility in building a more compassionate and harmonious world. Mother Teresa's legacy also includes her advocacy for peace and justice on a global scale. As a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, she spoke out against war, violence, and injustice, calling for reconciliation and understanding among nations and religions. Mother Teresa believed that true peace could only be achieved through love and compassion, and she encouraged individuals to work together for the common good. In addition to her humanitarian work and advocacy efforts, Mother Teresa's legacy lives on through the Missionaries of Charity, which continues to serve the poor and needy in more than 130 countries worldwide. The organization runs homes for the sick, disabled, elderly, and homeless, as well as orphanages, schools, and soup kitchens. Mother Teresa's example has inspired countless individuals to volunteer their time and resources to help those in need, creating a ripple effect of kindness and generosity that transcends borders and cultures. Mother Teresa passed away on September 5, 1997, but her legacy is a beacon of hope and compassion in a world often plagued by suffering and division. Her life serves as a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a significant difference in the lives of others. Mother Teresa's legacy challenges us to look beyond ourselves and reach out to those most vulnerable and in need, embodying the true spirit of service and love she exemplified throughout her life. Teresa's final years were ones in which poor health and physical suffering became her daily burden. Just a few months before her death, suffering from heart failure and pneumonia, she lay in a hospital bed, unable to speak because of the bronchial tube that had been inserted to help her breathe. She tried to communicate with her caretakers by writing on slips of paper but was too weak to do so. Finally, mustering all her strength, she could scrawl, "I want Jesus." Mass was celebrated in her hospital room, and she was able to take a small amount of the consecrated wine. But given her decades of living without a sense of Christ's presence, it's not too much to conclude that she also meant she wanted the darkness of God's withdrawal to end. She'd spent over 50 years reliving Christ's passion. If it was God's will that she suffered, so be it. But she longed for it to end. In 1962, in the second decade of her sense of abandonment, Teresa wrote something that anticipated her later understanding of her vocation to suffer the passion of Christ. "If I ever become a saint, I will surely be one of darkness. I will continually be absent from heaven, to light the light of those in darkness on earth." This is an extraordinary thing because it suggests that Mother Teresa was willing to relinquish the joy of heaven for the sake of those of us who also lie awake in the night wondering where God has gone. No one would deny that the diminutive nun who served Christ in his distressing disguise for over 50 years deserved some rest. But Teresa thought otherwise. Her lifelong dedication to serving God in his people was, so far as she was concerned, only an apprenticeship for her real work after she died. Chapter 5: Canonization of Mother Teresa. The canonization of Mother Teresa on September 4, 2016, was a momentous occasion that marked the climax of a long and meticulous process that recognized her extraordinary life of service and devotion to the poor and marginalized. She was born Agnes Gongsha Bohakshiu in Skopje, Macedonia, in 1910. Mother Teresa felt a calling to serve others from a young age. At 18, she joined the Loreto Sisters and traveled to India, where she took her final vows and became known as Sister Teresa. Mother Teresa's journey to sainthood began with her tireless work in the slums of Kolkata, India, where she founded the Missionaries of Charity in 1950. The organization focused on providing care and support to the poorest of the poor, including the sick, orphaned, and dying. Mother Teresa's selfless dedication to serving others earned her international recognition and numerous awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize 1979. Despite her fame and accolades, Mother Teresa remained humble and focused on her mission of love and compassion. She once said, "Not all of us can do great things. But we can do small things with great love." This simple yet profound philosophy guided her work and inspired countless others to follow in her footsteps. Mother Teresa's canonization procedure began shortly after she died in 1997. The Catholic Church carefully examined her life, writings, and works to ensure that she met the criteria for sainthood. One key requirement for canonization is the verification of miracles attributed to the candidate's intercession. In Mother Teresa's case, 2 miracles were officially recognized: the healing of a tumor in an Indian woman and the healing of a Brazilian man with multiple brain abscesses. On September 4, 2016, Pope Francis declared Mother Teresa a saint during a solemn ceremony at the Vatican. The canonization of Mother Teresa was a cause for celebration not only for Catholics but for people of all faiths and backgrounds who admired her unwavering commitment to serving the poor and vulnerable. Saint Teresa of Calcutta, as she is now known, continues to inspire millions around the world with her example of love, compassion, and selflessness. The canonization of Mother Teresa was a fitting tribute to a remarkable woman whose life embodied the values of faith, service, and humility. By recognizing her as a saint, the Catholic Church honored her legacy and provided a shining example for future generations to emulate. Saint Teresa of Calcutta's message of love and compassion remains as relevant today as it was during her lifetime, reminding us of the power of kindness and selflessness in making the world a better place. Thanks for watching this video. While you're still here, check out the other videos you see on your screen.